is Red Hot Reds Live. Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Strauss.
Welcome to the Red Hot Reds podcast. It is Sunday at 8 p.m. and we are live. That's Ricky. I'm Roger. This happy Will Benson Sunday to you, Ricky. I hope you enjoyed your Will Benson Sunday as much as I did. That was a fantastic way to cap off a series win, dramatic fashion. The Rally Reds are back. Ready? The Rally Reds are back. Rally Reds are back. I should have practiced.
A lot of R's.
Yeah, I should have practiced.
Man, it's exciting. I think it's Gingersaurus Rex on X today. 0-34 when trailing after 7 innings, and we broke it. We did ended another streak. I posted earlier. I said, I don't want to get too excited, but man, it's kind of hard finding reasons not to get excited. I think they're finding an identity finally. I think a lot of that's just because of new manager, trying to learn the players, trying to learn the manager, new coaches. Like, there's a process, and it seems like it's catching on.
Yeah, for sure. A 4-2 week, 2 series wins in a row for this week after having that disappointing Cardinal series. We're going to get into more of all that in a second. Ricky, I mean, that was just fantastic just to end that. But before we get going, I want to thank Doug and Jordan for this platform at Ohio Sports Talk, lending us this platform to talk about the Reds throughout the 2025 season. We're going to be live 8 p.m. every single Sunday to recap the week. We also will do some different things, like we have interviews. I think we just had Tommy Bennett from Baseball Scoops last week, Nick Kirby the week before, and we got another interview lined up for this Wednesday with Mr. Locked On Reds, Jeff Carr, I believe.
Yep.
So check that out on YouTube, on X, on Instagram, Facebook. We're all there streaming live for you to check us out. And then also we're going to be doing something special, which we'll talk about probably a little bit later, but we'll talk about right now. Tomorrow, Chase Burns, Garrett Crochet, Fenway Park. We're going to live stream the game. We're going to be doing a watch along. We're going to be interacting with you guys. Hopefully you'll join along to watch. We really appreciate all the support. We just got over 100 followers on X. We got 100 followers on Facebook. We want to keep the channels growing, so really support that. Come on out and watch. It's going to be a heck of a game, I think, tomorrow, just to say the least, about Garrett Crochet versus our guy Chase Burns. Like that. I mean, that's what we go out to the ballpark for, those type of games. But yeah, want to also thank Ricky for all his stuff behind the scenes. He does all the technical work that you'll see that gets us going, and really appreciate that. I want to shout you out. I haven't shouted you out in a couple shows.
I don't need a shout out.
You are the hardest working man. You're Chatterbox's glue guy who's always there if they need him as well. So check out Ricky on Chatterbox pregame tomorrow before our show. So he's going to be doing Reds, pregame
all day.
Yeah, post game, during the game, all that stuff. But yeah, really appreciate all you guys that are tuning in, and thank you for all the support. That we love you all, and we really appreciate you guys. We want to create this space for you guys to talk about Reds, because I don't know, like what Tommy kind of said, like the void of like Reds media is not necessary. I mean, we know that Chatterbox and Locked On Reds and stuff like that have their community, stuff like that, but we could grow that, and it'd be great to do that. So shout out William Wright in the chat. Shout out Mark Fetters in the chat. We really appreciate you guys. And hopefully you guys can join us tomorrow for the watch along. Chase Burns versus Garrett Crochet. Hey, Fred. Hey, look who's here. Fred.
Hey, let's go.
But yeah, Ricky, 4-2 week, 2 series wins. The weird stat that shout out to Reds Daily, Greg Kuffner. The Reds have won 8 straight series against non-NL Central opponents, if you can believe that. So if we could just not play the NL Central, I think we'll be like, 10 games above 500 and basically leading the division at this point.
Yeah, so what you're saying is we need there to be an expansion of 2 more teams, and we have a league realignment.
And that may be coming. I thought I saw some kind of stuff about that.
There's some interesting stuff going around. There's a guy that I follow. His name is Brody Brazil. He's used to cover a lot of San Francisco sports, Oakland sports. He worked for the A's, worked for, I think, the 49ers as well. And he currently works for the San Jose Sharks of the NHL. And he's real dialed into these relocation and stadium updates and stuff. And There's some talks about the White Sox possibly moving to Orlando. So
Yeah.
there's some realignment for you.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Or Nashville. I think Nashville has been rumored as well for the White Sox. It's because we talked about also that with Tommy, is like the Reds, like their map of like fandom kind of goes all the way down to like Atlanta, Georgia, Huntsville, Alabama area, which is crazy to think about. But anyway, that's neither here nor out to West Virginia, and then as west as probably, I don't know, Indianapolis, because there's no professional team for baseball in Indiana. So there's that. But anyway, 4-2 week, Rick, 2 series wins. What were your main takeaways against the Yanks and against the Padres?
Probably just playing up to our opponents. I mean, Yankees come in, packed ballpark every game, especially on Chase Burns' debut. And we'll talk about him more later. But man, just taking 2 out of 3, you let one slide away. But I mean, you faced arguably the best pitcher in baseball on that day. But man, the bats get going, the pitching's doing good. I mean, it's all you can ask for is for winning weeks and to not get swept. I'll take a losing series if we don't get swept, because that's one extra game you don't get back if you get swept. So it's fun, man. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely kind of in the balance for me. I wrote a piece kind of trying to invoke the 2023 vibes, which is our first topic in there. It's kind of starting to feel a little bit like 2023, the Rally Reds coming back, never saying, never, coming back and beating the Padres today, especially. It was, Mark says it. Steer was clutch. Benson was clutch. We really needed that just as a team. And it's only like the second walk-off this season. Like they did it. The other one was against the Yankees in extras, right? So like that, I mean, to do 2 walk-offs in the same week, you love to see it. It's definitely a big morale booster. You could see in the celebration after Benson's hit how much this team, like just like the 2023 team, that just were like together, just having fun. We're just, trying to pump each other up to be their best, right? I don't think we saw as much as this kind of like camaraderie in 2024. It felt a little less. I mean, there was a lot of injuries. There was a lot of guys coming in and out of the lineup. Hopefully this is the start of something even better, going into July against, again, 2 tough opponents with the Red Sox and then I think the Phillies, both on the road. So we'll love to see this momentum carry into it. And like you said, Ricky, we seem to really play up to our competition, because if we had played the Marlins and the White Sox this week, we might have gone in a whole different direction. But hopefully not. Hopefully this team has learned from those
2-4.
Yeah, hopefully we learn from those mistakes and realize that we can play to this level. We can pitch to this level, like with Andrew Abbott and Nick Martinez and Lodolo. They didn't necessarily, Martinez had a great outing, but like they haven't necessarily like gone terribly deep. They both went 5, Lodolo and Abbott, but at least we have guys that are there, putting in the work to try to get enough runs to get across the board, right? Like today it looked like it was going to be one of those 1-0 shutout games where we're just kind of putting our tail between our legs and just folding and not having anything left in the tank for the last, 6 outs. It felt like that we just, I don't know, kind of felt like that same 1-0 loss that we had in April. So it's just a huge morale boost, huge right in front of your crowd. Like you said, it wasn't as packed, I think, for the Padres series, to be honest with you, but it still got all the fans excited, got us excited. I was watching it at my father-in-law's place, and it was great. Just great cinema to see us walk it off that way.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, especially I just lost it in the chat. Man, where'd it go? Hey, winning creates fun moments, and that photo that Clay Snowden and
Brian.
there it is. Yeah. That Clay Snowden shared on Twitter. I actually went ahead and just made it my header for my profile. So
celebration.
Yeah. So I figured I'd go ahead and make that my new one. I'll always love Marte, but I needed a new change, and like winning creates fun. And when you have a manager like Francona that he knows how to get the most out of his guys and let them have fun at the same time. You know, there's going to be accountability. We saw that with Elly the other day. Was it the Yankees game where he rounded second thinking that the game was over and it wasn't. And, you know, there was accountability there. There was accountability with Martinez struggling in his pitching and him saying, you know, we're going to move you to the bullpen for a couple games, but we're going to keep you sharp. And that worked out. I mean, he threw 11 consecutive no-hit innings. If you think about his two previous relief outings. So, I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that. And like Francona, I don't want to say he's the main reason why all this stuff's happening, but he has a very large hand in it. Yeah,
for sure. It definitely, he, like the example you brought up with Elly rounding second and not knowing the situation, thinking the game was over or that he didn't have to, you know, try to round second to get the third. And it seemed like that would be a situation where David Bell would be in like a press conference saying, you know, we're close. We know what we need to do yet. And like just kind of coach speak it. But it feels like we get behind the curtain with Francona talking directly to Elly saying like, hey, you need to be better here. You need to know the situation. And Elly is one of like the better situational baseball players we have on this team. So it's kind of rare to see them. I don't know if it's like the heat that this, you know, like this week's been kind of getting the guys, especially there are some weird situations that happened in that series as well. I'm trying to think of, but that just like guys just not taking like the right approach and maybe just kind of, you know, having kind of a brain fart basically out there on the baseball field. But Elly, like, you know, basically, you know, Francona went to him and he wasn't the funny dabbing guy anymore. He was the guy that's like, you need to be a better baseball player here, which is great. And you want to see that because he needs to be the fun guy sometimes, and he needs to be kind of that fatherly figure to steer this young, you know, ball club in the right direction, because it felt like a lot of 2023, this is the one thing that isn't like 2023, to be honest with you. A lot of 2023 was chaos ball, like just go out there and make things happen, even if that means make errors or run into outs or like just make some bad decisions where, you know, situationally. 2024, a little bit, you know, along the same lines. It's still a David Bell ball club. Maybe I'm kind of like, you know, building up this thing where like now with Francona, we're being a lot more judicious on the base pass. We're not just running just to run. We're not taking the extra base unnecessarily. I feel like maybe there's a little bit more, like you said, accountability. Guys are knowing that this is kind of like, you know, every single situation matters. And if they make the wrong one, it could cost them a ball game or two, right? So that exactly, you know, the Elly situation brought up is kind of emblematic of that. And I'd love to see that Elly never makes that mistake again for this year, next year, the rest of his career. And, you know, it just shows that he's still learning as well, which Reds Facebook doesn't seem to understand too well.
Yeah, I mean, we got to remember these guys are young, man. Elly's 23, Marte's 23, Will Benson's 25, McLean's 24, 25, Abbott's 24, 25. Hunter Green's been pitching since 2022, and he's like 25. So, I mean, we got to remember these guys are young in their careers. And, I mean, we kind of hear the weird takes from Crawl, like from last year, saying when they hired Francona, you know, the rebuild's complete. It's like that was the quickest rebuild I think I've ever seen. Like, there's no way it's done because we don't know if these guys are going to pan out. But in the other sense, I mean, that rebuild only took a year and a half. I mean, 2022, you have a disaster of a season. You trade away. I mean, I don't want to say these guys were great players, but the only one that I probably would have wanted to keep on board would have been Castellanos, just based off his production. But, you know, in hindsight, that was his best season of his career, and he hasn't duplicated that since. And it's funny just how, you know, you can look back and things just go the way that you kind of hope they would go, and we're on the trajectory of that.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We really appreciate you guys chiming in, having jokes and having all this insight as well. Like, Hayes definitely needs to pick it up and stay healthy. He'd be great boost to the lineup. And also, hey, if you guys are here, we're going to be live streaming tomorrow's game, Burns versus Crochet, man. Like theater, just baseball theater.
Hopefully, hell of a matchup.
With the backdrop of Fenway, Like, we'd love to see Burns go out there and strike out the first 5 again, just to say the least. But if you can join us, please join us. We'll be on YouTube, we'll be on X, all that good stuff. And we really appreciate you guys being
Sir
here.
Boy Wonder in the chat. He's joining us for that, so it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, he's singing the fight song. Reds fans, what I am. So, yeah, but it definitely is. The vibes are a lot better. Like last week, I think we were talking about a 3-3 week that felt like it should have been 4-2. This week could have very well been a 5-1 week if we pitch better on Saturday, right? We kind of let the third game of the Yankee series kind of get away from us. So that probably, at least we got the win against the hated Yankees. And hey, we're 5 out of 6 games against the Yankees the last 2 years. I mean, you can't get any better than that. But
the debate's settled. 76 Reds over the 27 Yankees.
Yes. Also, shout out to Big Red Machine. They got celebrated this weekend. A heck of a way to send them off. Obviously, they had their celebration on Saturday, so it wasn't necessarily the greatest game.
Dave Parker.
Yeah, Cobra. Hall of Famer, unfortunately, wasn't able to get in the hall before he passed away. He passed away yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Right before the ceremony. Man, that's crazy. It's unfortunate, but yeah, I was seeing all the tributes to him. A lot of people came across him, and he was, I guess, a really good dude to them in person, and a heck of a ball player. And he's from Cincinnati, correct?
Yeah, he was born and raised in Cincinnati, and then got drafted by the Pirates. I wrote an article on him back in December. I like to do like a retrospective, like just deep dive on guys' life and career, and I did one in him. It was like a couple of days around the time that he got told he was going to be in the Hall of Fame, and just the stuff that I learned about him, obviously he's before my time. He's just a genuine guy that a lot of people liked. He had his ups and downs through life and through baseball, but it's sad to see him go, especially now. I think it's too soon. He wasn't that old of a guy. Shout out, he was the first $1 million contract baseball player. I don't know if you knew that or not. And from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pittsburgh Pirates had the first $1 million per year baseball player.
I think I learned that in your article, and it was kind of like what happened to the Pirates being the big spenders. Basically, they've gone the total other way. But maybe they can give $1 million to Skeens to stay. I don't know if they're thinking or not.
They're probably giving him that just to give him shoes.
Yeah, just his endorsement deals are probably more than that at this rate. But one aspect of the 2023 team was a bunch of guys being called up, right, Ricky? A lot of exciting prospects. And one exciting prospect that had his debut this week that gave us the chills, the vibes of 2023 was Mr. Chase Burns. And did he ever just electrify Great American Ballpark? I mean, here's my analysis, just shorthand. I'm watching a game with my wife, 7 o'clock. We got the kids kind of to bed early so that we can start the game without any interruption or any nonsense going on. And then all of a sudden, boom, strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. And my wife's like, oh, this guy's pretty good. I'm like, yeah, I like that analysis. He's pretty good. And it was just like, it was the craziest thing. He comes back and then strikes out the first 2. And unfortunately, it didn't get, what's his name, Jazz Chisholm to strike out. He got a single against him. But, hey, like, I can't really say too much more other than that quick snippet of how it went. It obviously didn't go perfectly. He gave up a couple runs, some weird defensive read on the ball from TJ Friedel that gave up 2 runs randomly. And, well, it didn't end up hurting, obviously, the Reds' chance of winning the game, luckily, and they ended up walking them off in extras, which was awesome. But what were your takeaways from Chase Burns on Tuesday night?
Yeah, I was actually home alone watching the game on that day. For some, I don't even know why, but I had the TV on and I see him. He strikes out the first 2 batters. I'm like, okay, like I'm getting excited. And then I think he throws that slider to Judge and the blown strike call. It was right down the middle, and he called it a ball. And then he gets ahead, and I'm like, oh man, is he really gonna do this? And then he struck out Judge, and I think I threw the remote down, and I think my neighbors heard me. So yeah, it was awesome. And then he goes out the next inning, 3 in a row. I'm like, oh my God. It was funny because our good friend Mike Ballantyne shared on Twitter. He's like, what are you expecting from Chase Burns today? And I retweeted. I was like, 9 innings, no hits, no walks, 27 strikeouts. And I think you texted me and you're like, 27 strikeouts is still in play.
It is. It was crazy. It was crazy to see that. And it was just kind of like, I don't know. Hopefully it's not a situation where like they don't have any, I mean, his stuff was nasty, but like they didn't have any like, game plan or anything against him because he was coming up for the first time ever. So really hope that the Red Sox will be the same story tomorrow night, that he'll just be able to just get whiffs left and right and blow past guys because I don't know, man. When Ben Rice turned that around him to give up that home run, I mean, the third, I think it was second or third inning or whatever.
That ball was walloped.
Yeah, I was like, oh, geez, this is the Yankees going to possibly catch up to his fastball, be able to see it out of his hand, and luckily they didn't necessarily do that, and that was kind of my biggest fear going into this start, is that they'd be able to catch up to his fastball, be able to see it, and just Great American small park it and just take it yard. Because when he struck out Judge, it's like, wow, this guy could possibly. He could be the real deal if he's. I mean, obviously Judge strikes out a lot too, but it wasn't close. Like the first 3 guys up, it was like sat him down. Like they had no chance. It was like as if he was the 10-year vet throwing against rookies. Basically, is what it looked like to me.
Yeah, I before his debut start, I was reading around just trying to catch some comps to him, and Tom Verducci put out an article on Sports Illustrated. Kind of comparing him to a young Justin Verlander. And when you look at it's, I don't want to say stuff because the stuff's a little bit different. Verlander had more command of his pitches. But I mean, Burns has the slider and the fastball that's just top notch. I mean, they're 70 grade pitches. But when you compare his release point, Burns has the fastest velocity of any pitcher in minor league baseball or major league baseball with his release point. He's got a vertical release of 6.61. I'm not a stat nerd. I don't know what these numbers means, but I do know that it's a high release. I can tell you that. And he's got the highest release and he's got the fastest velocity. Now, when you go into the numbers of him versus Verlander, 2015 Verlander, his average fastball velocity was 96 miles per hour. Chase Burns is 97.8 average. Vertical release, Verlander 6.62 and Burns is 6.61. Extensions, identical, 6.3. And spin rate, Verlander has him by a little bit, but it's 2,576 for Verlander, 2,531 rotations for Burns. There are some differences in their delivery. Verlander had a little bit smoother delivery, according to Verducci. But, I mean, to get comped to Justin Verlander, who is probably the greatest pitcher of this generation, is a hell of a comp.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It definitely speaks highly of his ceiling. This is a guy that, I mean, he was coming out of college throwing gas like this, and it seemed like, I don't know, it's in retrospect, looking back at the 2024 draft, I think you even posted about how like the comments of the people not necessarily being on board with this pick, thinking that they should have got Charlie Condon after Bazzana went number 1.
Yeah, I was one of those people.
Yeah,
but I learned very quickly who Chase Burns was, and I got extremely excited.
Well, yeah, and then even just seeing like the highlights that were kind of coming through when he was being called up or being like hit to AAA and stuff like that from college, you start to kind of like, yeah, maybe this guy's got a chance. Maybe this guy's got something. And seeing that they kind of have gone the Rhett Lauder route, but I mean, they even fast tracked him even quicker because Lauder didn't debut last year until late August, September at the earliest. So they really kind of pulled a fast one, saying that Chase Burns wasn't going to be ready and not ready to get called up anytime soon. And maybe that was just to lower expectations, maybe take some pressure off this guy that, I mean, I think Nick Kirby got it right. The pitching staff carried them the first couple months of the season. But these last couple weeks, maybe last 6 weeks or so, it's been the hitting that's kind of kept us afloat, and we might need more reinforcements. And he is definitely one of those reinforcements. If Hunter Green's not going to be back, I think the update was that he's not going to be back till after the All-Star break now. He was supposed to potentially come back on Wednesday of this week, but now that's kind of been pushed back in the timetable. So hopefully he's back sooner than later. But if this guy's going to be pitching like Hunter Green, I think we'll be at least in a decent spot. Not necessarily the best spot. You definitely want your top pitcher in Hunter Green, the top Cy Young candidate for this franchise to be there. But hey, if Chase Burns is going to be throwing like he is like he did on Tuesday, I guess you'll take that as well.
Yeah, and I wanted to highlight this comment. Are you worried about an innings limit? The last that I've heard, I was listening to 700 WLW just about an hour and a half ago or so, and the rumor is around 170 innings between the minors and the majors, and I think with what he has now, if he was to go 5 innings every start, we'd see about 10 more starts out of him. I would kind of hope that they wouldn't do an innings limit just because he didn't pitch at all last year and they kind of worked him up. I mean, he started out, he was throwing 3 or 4 innings in Dayton, and then you saw him kind of gradually work his way up. He threw a 7-inning complete game. It was a doubleheader, but a 7-inning complete game for Chattanooga. And, he threw, I think, 94 pitches on Tuesday.
I thought it was closer to 80, but I could have been reading the stats wrong. I thought it was like 85.
It might have been 85. I know it was close to 90. It was under 100, but it was around 80. Let's say between 80 and 90 pitches. And, that's pretty decent start, for your major league debut, going 5 innings while allowing 6 hits and striking out 8 guys. So, I mean, he had some pretty productive at-bats, pitching. So, yeah, I'm kind of concerned about the innings, but not from his standpoint, more from the Reds' standpoint. So that's my take on it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I have here. This is Rodon went 88 pitches, Burns 81 pitches, 53 for strikes.
Okay.
I think I'm more concerned about they might give him on a pitch limit, not necessarily innings limit. I think going into his start on last Sunday, I think he was going to get like 80 pitches. And he ended up getting 5 innings out of it. I thought it was going to be more like a 4 innings, 80 pitches type of situation. Yeah, I think 81 pitches, 80 or 90 might be the top out. That becomes a concern because our bullpen's been really taxed of late, and they haven't been spectacular. Lyon Richardson, who has been pretty good this season, has kind of got beaten up a lot lately. Scott Barlow and Santillan keep been thrown out there, even though they're like you said, the major league leaders in appearances. I mean, the Ashcraft injury, I think, is starting to be like kind of an issue for at least just getting guys in there to eat up innings. I don't know. It looks like after that great start for Martinez, he's not going to be in the bullpen anymore. So that kind of also stretches out the bullpen as well. Charlie,
yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he's continuing to throw an inning or two, maybe once or twice in between starts. I mean, I think it really helped him out.
Yeah, I think there was a stat out there like he pitched like every 3 days or something like that because he was used so much just in the bullpen.
The radio said it was 4 games in 8 days.
That's it. Yeah, it was crazy. It's like, hey, well, Nick Martinez is just going to be pitched like every day now. It's going to be like a playoff run where you just got to throw the guy out there like who's that guy for the Giants that ended up pitching like every single game? The big lefty. No.
I know back in 2001 during the D-backs World Series run, they were pitching Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling every other day.
Yep.
It felt like so. I mean, it was a different era of baseball, and I don't know. Maybe pitchers took care of themselves a little bit better back then. They could stay healthier longer for some weird reason. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't think it's all about velocity because I mean Randy Johnson was throwing like 110. So I don't know. He lasted he had a very long career. So I saw a comment by some former pitcher. I for the life of me can't think of who it was, but he said that there's no windups anymore. Like the way people deliver the ball, they kind of just step back and throw it. And maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's something into your delivery. I mean, look at Aroldis Chapman. He's still throwing 102, and he's 38 years old. So I mean, maybe there's something to a windup.
Yeah. Bumgarner was the guy I was thinking about.
Yes.
Mad Bum. But yeah, shout out to Sir Boy. Hunter and Graham are going to be doing bullpen sessions this week in Boston. hopefully good news. Like I said, Hunter was supposed to pitch, I think, Wednesday, but if he's going to be doing some bullpen, hopefully good news after that. That'd be awesome. Shout out to you guys again being in the chat. We really appreciate it. We love you guys all. We definitely want to see you guys here tomorrow if you can for the live stream, Burns versus Crochet. We're going to try to do a watch along, chat, talk about some different stats and stories and stuff like that, and hopefully see a great pitching performance out of Chase Burns. That's the hope for tomorrow. But I really appreciate you guys being here tonight. We do have a new their next topic that Ricky's really excited to debut a graphic about. I don't know do you want me to set up your graphic, or do you want me to?
No, we can talk about it, and we'll talk about it.
A big news story. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what side of the debate you were on this, a guy that was supposed to be the veteran presence, the guy that got a big deal, 3 years, $45 million, was surprisingly DFA'd. And I think a couple shows ago, Ricky said that, because I threw it out there, that what if they just straight up DFA him? Because he was coming to the end of his rehab. If you don't know, we're talking about Jeimer Candelario. He was coming to the end of his rehab at AAA. And they had to make a decision. They made a decision. They didn't have to make it on Sunday. I thought they had to make it Sunday. They made it like Monday morning-ish, Monday afternoon. They DFA'd him, and I don't think he's been claimed. It hasn't been 7 days yet.
He was officially released today.
So he's not. He is free agent, straight up. But he will be owed the rest of his contract, about $22 million, I believe, left of his contract. So he'll be on probably a sandy beach somewhere, sipping some Mai Tais, enjoying the fact that he doesn't have to play baseball, but still gets paid.
Yeah,
so
must be nice.
Shout out to him. But unfortunately, for the Reds, they had. Well, I don't know. I guess it
Fortunately for the Reds, we had the financial flexibility to cut the guy and not murder this team. I'll say that.
Yeah, it seems. I don't know if it's because Francona is here or Bob Castellini is getting older. They seem to be making a little bit more emphasis on, I don't know, these kind of decisions that probably wouldn't have happened a couple years ago under Bell. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just kind of projecting and kind of, basically crapping on.
Maybe it's Brad Meter. Maybe it took Brad Meter being the actual general manager and Nick Kroll being president of baseball ops, where, I mean, you extend David Bell and you fire him a year later. Well, I think he still had 2 years on his contract. You sign Candelario to a 3-year, $45 million deal, and then you cut him a year and a half into his contract. Like, maybe I don't know. Maybe they had it in their head, like, if this doesn't pan out, we're going to cut him. And I think you heard it here first. We were the first ones to talk about it.
I just blew the idea out there. I'm not saying I'm claiming the take that they're
all credit goes to Roger on this one.
Yeah, I was saying Ricky still has his hair, by the way. I just want to point that out for the chat. That Ricky said he would cut his hair if he did get DFA'd outright. But anyway, that's besides the point. The point I'm trying to make is that I guess the urgency. There's a little bit more urgency, and I think I heard Charlie G talk about how Nick Kroll actually went in front of the media and took all the questions immediately after the announcement that he was being DFA'd. So, like, I think it's a little bit more, even though that, Meter is the GM, I think Nick Kroll is the face of the front office, and he's going to be the one that answers the questions, even though it's frustrating as that may be to be as a Reds fan, listen to Nick Kroll, pontificate about random stuff like, whatever he has to talk about it. We're just trying to build a ball club, yada, yada, whatever. But, like, it seemed like he wanted to own the decision, at least for that on that front, which, again, like I said, maybe Bob's getting older. Maybe he's telling those guys, hey, I want to win. I want to get in the playoffs. This seems to be the core that they believe in. They have a manager that has the pedigree. Yeah, let's do it. Like you said, they fired David Bell when he had a year left on his contract. So maybe this is the front office / executive, executives in the organization are going to start making these type of decisions. Now, the next thing that we could probably talk about, not maybe here or maybe a different show, is will they make that big trade? Will they go out and be buyers before the trade deadline? That's kind of the question I have.
Yeah, and with all that being said, I would like to introduce you my career highlight video for Jeimer Candelario. I hope you guys all enjoy this.
The end.
The end.
Yeah. All right. Just having a little fun at Jamer's. I think it's okay to make fun of him because did he make his 10 years? Is he now?
I think he did. I'll double check on that.
Then he gets, just like Tucker Barnhart earlier this year, he got full benefits after he retires and whatnot from the MLBPA. Is that how it works? I think.
Yeah, he gets lifetime insurance. Let's see.
I did want to answer this question from Fred. Fred brought up whatever happened to Sam Mole. I don't know. I think he's still at AAA. I don't think he's performing expectations.
I have some stats on him here in just a second while I'm looking up this Jeimer Candelario thing.
There were rumblings in spring training that Terry Francona wasn't happy with Graham Ashcraft and Sam Mole's like the shape they were in coming into this season, and maybe that's really kind of taking a toll that he's not in the best shape, and then he ends up getting hurt, and then he ends up kind of performing poorly. I'm pretty sure he's still at AAA. Last time I saw, either that or he's on the IL. I can't remember, but I want to say he was on the Bats roster the last time I saw. And whatever happened to him, like on the sense of being a baseball player, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know. Relief pitching can be pretty fickle. Some guys can have great years. Some guys can be, really terrible for a whole stretch of a year. I don't know if they're kind of stashing him in the minors because maybe they might need him later. Maybe they don't need him at all, so they're just kind of letting him, get innings down there. It's a good question. I like to think he's hopefully working his way back into some sort of, shape.
Jeimer Candelario has 7 years of service time. He's been in the league for 10 years, but he hasn't eclipsed 10 hours. And as far as Sam Mole goes, I had some stats. Let me find it real quick. He actually pitched yesterday for Louisville. They had a doubleheader yesterday. I think he had 2/3 of an inning. I did an article on for Chatterbox. Let me pull that up. But he's got an ERA over 7 in the minor leagues right now. And not good, but he's also kind of been better lately. His game log, in his last few outings, so for Louisville, he pitched the 28th, 2/3 of an inning. He had 1 hit, 2 runs, earned runs, by the way. And then the 26th, he pitched an inning, hit a batter, didn't allow a run, got a strikeout. He hasn't allowed a run since June 12th. So that's 5 straight outings. He allowed a home run on June 12th. So for the month of June, his ERA is 7.50. But for the month of May, he was 8.59. So there's improvement.
Hey.
But I don't know what it is, man. Guys are just hitting him. Their guys are hitting 346 in the month of June.
Oh,
so I don't know what it is. He's getting older. He's smaller on the smaller side. He's 5'9". I mean, we saw that with Tim Lincecum. He was a hard throwing pitcher. He was like 5'8", 5'9". And it just doesn't last, especially at that size. If you're a bigger guy, he's 5'9", 190. Like, I didn't know he was that small. But smaller guy, hard thrower. He's 33. Sadly, it's gonna be downhill from here.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's going to be in the minors for a bit, unless they really need an arm. But that might be another thing they go after, and I think that's what we talked about with Nick Kirby as well. Is they probably need to get some relief pitching, just maybe an arm, just to help with that. Luis May and Zach Maxwell could be those guys too, and we'll talk about them in a little bit with the minor league segment. But like that could be a solution as well for whatever arms they may need. But I don't know. Samuel's a lefty, so maybe they trade for another lefty again because Taylor Rogers has been up and down all season. Yeah, well, okay. Here's the lefty you're talking about. Yeah, we didn't really talk. Yeah, and he's with the Red Sox. Right? We shouldn't even talk about it with Tommy. We should have talked about it with Tommy, see if they'd be looking to unload because the Red Sox are 500. Like they're 40 and 41, I think. Like they're not great, but like The
Like,
AL.
we'll give you Connor Joe with a side of hand, foot, and mouth, and we get Aroldis Chapman.
Okay, deal. Sounds like a great deal. I'm like, we'll take that. No problem. But yeah, they'd probably need something like that. It definitely would be a situation that would, I think, the Red Sox. I don't know, but the AL Central is so, or not the AL Central, the AL wildcard is so weird that like even the Guardians are like in it, and they're now like 500. So like,
did you see there was an article put out about them possibly firing Stephen Vogt?
That seems extreme.
Yeah,
I mean, it's his second season, right? Like he won 90
he's
games
been.
last year.
I mean, you play in the division where like the Tigers are a kind of a surprise, honestly. But
They've been building. They've been building.
They have been, but they like the way last year worked out. You think this year should have been last year. You know, they kind of jumped up on us, and the Royals are kind of underachieving, I guess, in a way, just based off the talent that they have compared to what the Tigers were. So I don't know. I mean, Cleveland could be stuck in the middle of that.
Yeah, for sure. And they haven't been hitting. They've got like the thing that they scored 6 runs in 3 games against the Cards and gave up like 21 runs. So like they are in a world of pain and just hitting. And I don't know. There's a lot going on there in Cleveland. But like I said, they're not completely out of it. Like the AL wildcard is kind of wide open at this point. Obviously, things can change. It's just June, about to be turned July. But yeah, I mean, just to cap off our Jeimer Candelario segment, so long. Thank you for your service. I mean, it just shows, I think on overall, it shows that we're being more of a serious franchise than just kind of allowing a guy that's hitting 113, I think you said, Rick, to just be in the locker room. I mean, if he could have made a comeback, it would have been great. I think he hits really well in the month of June and July historically, but you know what? Cut ties instead of kind of going through the whole rigmarole of like, should he be playing? Shouldn't he be playing? Give him some time. Give him some, at bats here and there. Like they just, I think, went for the least, even though it's the most expensive decision, the least headache in terms of like giving Tito like another bat that may or may not be really, what I mean? He might not be a value add, right? Like he might be below average replacement player. So, so long, Jeimer. We hardly knew you. Too bad we can't get Austin Wins back and have him back in the ball club as opposed to Jeimer. But anyway, that's
one more time career highlights for Jeimer Candelario for the Cincinnati Reds.
Yep.
Sayonara, buddy.
Yeah.
I wish he would have worked out. I had, I remember the day we signed him, and all the comments were like so positive. And
really?
Yeah, and it was funny because like I'm normally pretty positive on things. I was super excited about Mike Moustakas, man. I was fired up because he was a doubles machine. He could hit the ball out of the ballpark. But when I saw Candelario and I looked at his numbers, I just thought, he's not a home run guy, and that's what we need.
Yeah.
And he's not a high average guy for the most part. He's had a couple years where he's hit close to 300, but it's an aging corner infielder that's not super athletic. And I just remember I tweeted, I was like, I hope to God he's not Mike Moustakas 2.0. And I got roasted. Just like, he is not. I think it was Natty Sports tweeted, like, if you guys think Candelario is going to be it's going to be Candelario or Moustakas 2.0, you guys are going to have another thing coming for. I should have bookmarked that tweet, but
yeah,
I was just like, man, like I hope he's not, but I just have a gut feeling that we just blew another contract, and here we are a year and a half later. It just yeah.
This comment may laugh. Chapman should just fly home with the Reds after the series in Boston. Yes. We should definitely do that. Definitely.
Just give him his old jersey back.
Yeah, I don't know. Does someone have?
Is anybody number 54 right now, or is that Cowgill? Just give him Cowgill's jersey. Just swap some letters on it.
Yeah, it's just a first.
Just give him Cowgill. He's gonna get announced first game. Here comes Aroldis Cowgill.
Yeah. And now transitioning to the next topic, probably hopefully our more popular segment we've ever have. We'll try to highlight this every single week if we can, every single episode. It's the segment, Elly segment of the week. Is he good? Is he good?
Yes.
Well, he's good. Yeah, I agree. Yep. All right, segment over for that one. Although I think you put it in there, or maybe I put it in there. Is he good right-handed?
He has been heating up right-handed.
He has been clutch. And I remember back last year, I think 2024 is when people were writing out there like, oh, he should just focus on hitting lefty. Don't be a switch hitter. It's going to cause you to strike out more because it's a different.
The greatest hitter that ever lived was a switch hitter.
Was that Ted Williams?
Pete Rose.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Well, I should know. I was like, sweet.
This is a Red show, man.
My bad. Not a Ted Williams show. My bad. I forgot what hat I was wearing. Anyway, yeah. P. Rose, yeah, he did it all. He played everywhere as well.
Hey, you want to know what Elly's batting average is up to right now?
280.
280. You want to know what his OPS is right now?
850.
861.
Okay.
18 home runs, and not what we expected, but does have 22 stolen bases. He is 2 home runs away from a 2020 season. And as far as from the right side of the plate, he is up to 240 batting average versus right-handed pitching, or versus left-handed pitching. He has a 413 slug, so that's not terrible. I mean, he is a 550 slug versus righties, but there's obvious signs of improvement. He's got 5 home runs from the right side. So, yeah, he's better versus, right-handed pitching, but he's becoming a pretty solid. He's probably our best hitter versus left-handed pitching at this moment.
Yeah, there's obviously been a lot of stuff out there on the Twitterverse about, oh, it's such a shame that he wasn't voted in the top 2 because of that. The way the All-Star voting goes is the top 2 guys advance, and then they go head-to-head. They see who's the starter. I don't know. I got kind of a weird take on it. I think it's actually for the best that he actually didn't get voted in the top 2, because there'll probably be a scenario where he still doesn't get voted in as the starter, because it'd either be Mookie or who's the other guy?
We'd be mad either way.
Yeah,
Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, because of the big markets and whatnot. So it would just kind of extend the pain in terms of and frustration. And that's my take. It's because we get it, big markets, they have a lot more people to vote. Yada yada, whatever. Who cares? But the point I'm thinking is that even if he's not in the top 2, I think he's still the second shortstop taken by even if it is Dave Roberts as the manager for the NL.
Yeah, if he gets Mookie Betts as the starter, Elly's second.
Easily.
Yeah.
I think even if Lindor is the starter, I think it's so hard to argue that Mookie Betts is having a better season than Elly, just on stats. Yeah. I understand that he's on the Dodgers and he's going to have to support his guy, but Mookie Betts has been there, done that. He doesn't need necessarily to be the second guy, or I don't even know how many shortstops they generally take for an All-Star game.
Elly can play third. He did play third in last year's All-Star game, although David Bell was a part of that coaching staff. That could have been a reason, but he can play third. I don't want him playing third a whole lot just to get him, different spot than what he's been playing this year, but can play third. So maybe he plays third in the All-Star game. I don't know.
Yeah. And then my other side of that take is that if he starts getting All-Star starting in his second full season in the majors, do you imagine how much more arbitration argument there's going to be on boards?
This might take arbitration is going to be 22 year 1, 26 year 2, 40 year 3.
Yeah, so this might save the Reds some money in the long run. He's going to get in the All-Star game. There's no way MLB is marketing his pants off. You know what I mean? He is the guy that they're going to be putting out there for the Bristol game. Obviously, that's going to be shown on every single Fox broadcast going forward. Him and Acuna Jr. And actually it's going to turn out to be a pretty good game, except for the Braves kind of stink. So I thought it was going to be the other way around. I thought the Braves were going to be really good and contending, and the Reds are going to be mediocrity, struggling. But hey, we'll take a big win on the big stage at Bristol. It will be definitely a heck of a showcase for this young Reds team. I wonder who will end up being the starter that day. That'll be kind of interesting if Hunter's back by then, or if Abbott's still dealing. He'd be great to put out there on the national stage in August 2nd. But I don't mind Elly being like the second or even the third, I guess, shortstop being selected. It's all counts the same, except that I guess, Boris would probably argue if he's like a starter in his third season ever, like this guy is unprecedented, and they'll start comparing him to like guys that are making like, the Lindor money and whatnot. So.
Which he's going to get regardless.
True. But
I
have some money a little bit in 2029.
Yeah, let us get the salary cap first, then we'll keep you.
Yeah.
But I have Baseball Reference pulled up, comparing Elly to Mookie Betts. It's a runaway compared to Mookie Betts. 3 WAR player Elly, 2.5 WAR for Mookie Betts. I'll try to go through some normal stats. Hits, he's got 88 hits. Mookie has 76. 18 home runs for Elly, 9 for Betts. 56 RBIs for Elly, 41 for Betts. 22 stolen bases for Elly, 6 for Betts. 280 average for Elly, 252 for Betts. Slugging 506 Elly, 385 for Betts. OPS plus 129 for Elly, 102 for Betts. So it's kind of a runaway.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating side of the voting, is that it's a popularity contest. But yeah, I agree with Fred. I think Abbott should be the starter. I think we were on that train a couple weeks ago, and William Wright talked about it. Chris Sale's injured, and he might not be starting, even though it's in Atlanta. Abbott being a Virginia kid, not too far away, so why not? Andrew Abbott for all-star starter, in my opinion, I think is not the more likely.
I think William was the first person that I'd heard saying put him as a starter when he was in our chat that day talking about it.
I think that's maybe where we got it from, and we've been on that train because why not? I mean, I'm trying to – I'll probably – someone will probably bring up another starters. Skeens, I guess, but
Skeens probably is like the obvious just for marketing. But I mean, if you want,
he'll be there. It's the same thing like for Elly. It's like
if you want the best pitcher that's in the National League this season, I think Andrew Abbott's the best pitcher in the National League this season consistently.
Yeah,
I mean, Hunter Green would be had he had not gotten hurt and then had his moments. But to have Abbott step up in the role of ace while Hunter Green's on the mend is just you couldn't ask for anything better than that.
Yeah, shout out to Andrew Abbott. So. But, we'll move on to our red hot red of the week. Ricky and I usually try to pick the guy that's the best red for this week. I try to pick a couple guys just in case we overlap, and then we also have some honorable mentions as well. Because this week, 4-2, man, like there's been some good performances. I'll let you go first, Ricky. Who's your guy that's red hot red of the week?
Man, it's hard because I think the obvious choice seems to be Spencer Steer, but Elly has been just as good in those 7 games. I think I'm going to go with Steer. He's batting .481, swinging .852 in his last 7. He had the 3 home run game the other day, hit 7 RBIs, 2 stolen bases to add to that too. So
that's impressive.
Yeah, so he's starting to click. He's still struggling compared to the National League Central first baseman just overall for the season. But if he can get hot, kind of stay hot, and then kind of, teeter around league average, that's a massive shot in the arm to this lineup. Yeah, for sure. My guys I had were pitchers. I actually thought you were going to go with Mr. Nick Martinez, Mr. Almost No-No. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's been such a crazy week. But, unfortunately, Friedel didn't have the greatest fielding week this week.
Yeah, his dive where he tried to catch that was like me on MLB The Show trying to dive for a ball. Yeah, not necessarily a red hot red of the week for that performance, but Mr. Nicky Smiles, the guy that's our highest paid player going out there, unfortunately didn't get real much help from Ryan Velarde on that attempt to keep the no hitter, but I don't know what are you gonna do about that. But definitely, having him pitch what you said, like 4 games in 8 days or something like that. Yeah, he had 2 innings against St. Louis and then an inning against New York, or maybe it's the other way around. But it was 3 innings in relief, the 2 2/3 against Detroit, where he struggled,
Or the Twins, you mean?
Yeah, it was the Twins. He had 5 innings against Detroit. And then he had, the 9 inning or almost 9 innings the other day. So yeah, four games in 8 days, and he's definitely. I mean, we can put his contract to bed. Now the struggle is, do you try to extend him or trade him? But that'd be another show.
Yeah, for sure. You got any honorable mentions? I got Nikki Smiles. You got Spencer Steer. Any honorable mentions for this week?
Honorable mentions. I'll go with Elly. He's hitting over 400, I think, in his last 7 games, and Will Benson just for today, just going out and getting that hit.
Shout out Will Benson.
Yeah, shout out. Always got to shout out Will Benson. He's such a likable guy.
Yeah. What was funny is that our guy, Locked On Guardians, Justin Latta, was tweeting about Spencer Steer, and like Benson was in the lineup, and there was like a situation where he was about to go up for his 4th at bat, potentially get 4 home runs, and Latta was talking about like, hey, he should have been talking to Benson because Benson had that 4 home run game in the minors that Latta, I think he was at, right, and talked to him about.
Yeah, he was in the press for that minor league team, I believe. Yeah,
so like he like Benson's got that experience of like he's done a lot in baseball, and obviously he's still a young man, and that's great that he's gonna come up for us, and man, you can't. It's hard to root against the guy. Basically, is what we kind of end up doing, and he had that great celebration as well. So that's a great honorable mention. My honorable mention was Chase Burns, man. First ever pitching for the Cincinnati Reds. I think like 8 strikeouts, was like second to Johnny Cueto for first like debut or like pitching debut for the Reds. I think Cueto had 10 in his debut.
Yeah,
I want to say. So like, let's shout out to him. Like 5 strikeouts to start the game. You can't really draw it up better than that. Other than obviously just going out there and getting the W. Luckily the team won. But we'll take. I mean, like I said, if he comes out tomorrow and blows guys away right off the bat, you just love to see it. It'd just be great television, great theater for baseball. So, but yeah, those are guys. Any other guys you want to shout out while we got Red Hot Wit and Red of the Week?
No, I was going to point out Elly's stats. He's hitting .333 over his last 30 games, by the way.
Wow. All right. So, yeah, and I think there was the guy TJ on Twitter. Like, Elly's one of the top clutch guys. Like, not sure how that stats, like, calculated, but he was, like, up there in the top 20 guys that are clutch for baseball. So we can just shut down that narrative as well, that he's not clutch. He obviously he got that single at the top of the 9th as well to get the rally going, and then tied the game on a what was that Spencer Steer single. So we love to see it. Elly's obviously one of our we're pro Elly show for sure, and I'm not sure exactly. And I think we didn't even talk about it, but our next topic is usually directed at him for the Reds Facebook comment of the week. And I'm not sure exactly if that's what we got today, but usually I saw Greg put one out there too about, oh gosh, I forgot what it was, about Elly, I think. Or no, it was about Burns. And it was like, why you got a guy out there only throwing for 5 innings when he's striking everybody out and only throwing 80 pitches and stuff like that? It's like, okay, it's his first ever start. Let's not, burn him out and throw him, all to the Wolves, basically to the Yankees, and have him go a 3rd time through the order and just get demolished, basically. But anyway, that was just honorable mention. Reds Facebook comment of the week.
I don't have a graphic made for one, but the usual suspects in the Reds Nation 4192 Facebook group. I never name names, obviously. And this guy said, Richardson sucks. Get him back to AAA. This bullpen needs an overhaul.
Yeah. Okay.
Richardson's been one of your best relievers this year. He's had his moments, but everybody has. But yeah, he's one of the younger pitchers in the bullpen also this season. And he's figured out his fastball and his changeup. He's always been a fastball breaking ball guy, and now he's figured out fastball off speed. And I keep bringing it up, but he had that outing against Houston where he painted a fastball down and away to a right-handed batter, 97, and then the next pitch, same location at 84. And it's just you can't teach that stuff. You either have it or you don't, and he's got it. It's just you teach consistency, and that's what he's learning.
Yeah. Brett says he's been better than expected for sure. And he's a company man, as I like to say, because they generally like to bring him up and put him down at least 3 or 4 times a season just randomly because they either need a spot start or they need bullpen help and whatnot. But maybe he's finally making a name for himself in the bullpen. Do you see that being like his thing going forward? I know we need it, so it's kind of a need more than like him. But I think he was a starter for the most part.
They drafted him as a starter. He was I think he was an 18th overall prospect in their farm system, like when he drafted him. And he had Tommy John and kind of, dissipated through the recent acquisitions of prospects. And, I think he's got a lot of stuff to prove. And I think him as a reliever is probably best for him and best for the Reds just because, not taxing your arm too much, going out there throwing 5-6 innings, 100 pitches. And hey, you never know. I mean, depending on how things work out with May and Maxwell and, I've thrown it Ashcraft, he could pitch his way into a closing role in the future if he can figure it out. He's got the fastball for it and he's got the changeup for it. And sure, things have happened. I don't want to sit there and say, hey, Lyon Richardson will be the Reds closer, but he's got the talent to pitch his way into that situation in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Or a setup guy for Ashcraft down the road.
or Maxwell.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of May and Maxwell, guys that are in the minors, we have our 3 up, 3 down segment, and we're definitely I don't know how to describe this week. This week was kind of weird. A lot of rainouts for Chattanooga and Louisville, so there wasn't necessarily a lot of stats, a lot of guys going out there. But there are some new names out there that we haven't had in the past, and some guys that we have had in the past. So we'll start with our 3 up guys. Our AAA guy, just like the Reds, Blake Dunn is back. He had a pretty decent week, went 8 for 22 with 2 doubles and a grand salami, I think Thursday's game or something like that.
It was Saturday.
Yesterday?
I think it was in game 1 of the doubleheader, I believe.
Okay. So, I mean, hey, I don't know if he'll be back at the big ball club soon, but if he can get his confidence up and get some hits in, I mean, he's definitely not a power guy, right? Like, he's the guy that is kind of a slap hitter and a speedster, but we'd love to see his confidence grow at AAA, especially because Reese Hines and Benson are now up here. I think at least for a while, and basically Marte is in Chattanooga but working his way up. Same thing. Hayes got called up. Hayes didn't even go to AAA, right? Like Hayes just skipped. No. He was just working out his foot basically.
So what that was is there was a ton of rain scheduled in Louisville. And funny enough, there was a ton of rain in Chattanooga this week. So they sent them both to Chattanooga to kind of skip potential rain delays. And there was a rain delay for Chattanooga, I think back-to-back days, Friday and Saturday. And they have a doubleheader today, and I think they play a makeup game on Monday, I think also. So, and Marte had that triple today, RBI triple. And I think he had a walk also. Could be up sooner than later.
Yeah, for sure. And then Ricky's favorite lookout, Sal Stewart, went 7 for 20 this week. Scored 6 runs and had 2 homers and 7 RBIs. So real productive outing, a real productive week despite all the rainouts and whatnot and all the double headers and makeups for him. And then for Dayton Dragons, single A, Yearling Confidant had a great week. And I'm even including the Sunday stats, which technically is from last week, but he had like a stretch where he was, for 3 games, 10 for 14, like just killing it. But he ended up the week 12 for 26, 3 doubles, 9 RBIs, which is, that's more than 1 a day. And then also shout out to ACL Reds, our favorite Reds affiliate, basically. Arnaldo Antigua, he had 5 for 16 this week, a triple, 2 home runs, and a double. Like, he was just filling it up down there.
Good for the cycle Reds during the week.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love to see that. Any takeaways from these guys?
Sal Stewart should be in Louisville tomorrow. And
they got the playoffs. They got the midseason playoffs, though.
Yeah, and same with H-Rod. Hector Rodriguez, too. He got, player of the season for the first half, I think?
For the first half, yeah.
And Yerlin Confidant's quietly putting together a decent season.
See, Clay Snowden, we have outfielders in our system.
Yeah, they're just
took a while.
slower. I mean, look at Austin Hendrick, man. He's got a WRC plus at 129 this season. He's slowly, quietly figuring it out. And I have some honorable mentions.
Sure, go for it.
They're way down there. I mean, they're way down.
DSL?
Yeah. I got Dennis Chorio. He's a 16-year-old shortstop for the DSL Rojos. He is hitting 261 with a 596 OPS in June. Let's just say he's only played in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 games, but he hasn't played every day. He had 6 hits this week, so decent. And then a pitcher, and I am gonna absolutely butcher this guy's name.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that it's a hard name. It's just I think this is how Mike Tyson would say it.
Yeah, it's your guy.
Yeah. Thurlan Torres.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's how it is. It's a unique spelling.
He is. I might go out on a limb here and say he might be the best Red starter in their system right now.
Wow. Well, because Burns is not in the system anymore. Or you're talking about even
in the minor league system.
Yeah. Well. Okay. So Burns doesn't qualify.
Burns doesn't qualify. He's on the Reds roster.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna find this guy's stats, but he has a 94 to 97 mile per hour fastball, kind of Chase Burns-esque. Really good slider that isn't as fast as Burns, but he's been throwing 4 innings, 5 innings for the ACL. I think he's in the ACL right now, and I cannot find his stats for the life of me.
They say the Baseball Reference has really comprehensive ACL Red stats.
Do they?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Like they have game logs and everything. It's where I look, at least for that's where I get my Tyson Lewis fix. Is looking up ACL Red stats on Baseball Reference. The game logs there. Between him and Arnaldo Antigua, they could be at the ACL Red of the week every week. It's crazy. I know I always make the joke that we should just move down to Arizona and become a ACL Reds podcast, because I also found out the ACL Reds or the complex down there is they don't have any charging for tickets, so you just get to watch baseball for free. And I mean, that sounds like a recipe for me. I don't have to spend money to watch these guys that are going to be future Reds potentially. Yeah. I'll take that every day of the week.
I found it's Thurlan Torres.
Yeah.
And he's 19. He's 6 foot 182. In 9 games for the ACL Reds, he has a 1.54 ERA in 35 innings, 42 strikeouts, and a .74 WHIP. In 23 career games in the Reds system, he is 2-2 with a 1.68 ERA, 91.1 innings, 93 strikeouts, 0.81 ERA or WHIP. He has stuff, and I don't want to say it, because there are guys in the system. I mean, I'm excluding Rhett Lauder on this too, obviously, just because he has been on the major league roster. But this guy could potentially be, 3-4 years away and be a really good piece to this team. Yeah,
for sure. That sounds great. I mean, shout out to him. We'll have to keep an eye out on him. Starlin, you said, was it Torres?
Yeah, maybe the H is silent. I don't know. We'll call him Starlin Torres, I guess.
Starlin.
Mike Tyson, Starlin.
Shout out to him. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on him going forward. And now the guys that are 3 down, not necessarily the guys you want to see there either. I've got Zach Maxwell. He had a rough outing where he got the loss. I think he got walked off, 2 earned runs to lose the game this week. Jose Acuna, a guy that's been really good at Double-A, only went 3 innings and 5 earned runs in a loss this week. And then Single-A Will Cannon, which Is that might be somebody different? Will Cannon
Could be. It's what popped up with his name. There's not many pictures of him on there.
I say I only found his headshot. He unfortunately was the reliever that came in after Adam Serenowski was pitching for the Dayton Dragons. He ended up getting lost because he went 1 2/3 innings, gave up 5 runs, and they ended up losing 5-1. But Serenowski had probably one of his best outings of the season. He's kind of been struggling. It's been kind of Luke Hayden has been the real standout there at Dayton Dragons. But Will Cannon was a 2024 12th round pick. So like he's new into the system. Unfortunately, his first appearance here on the Red Hot Reds podcast is in a loss, but we'll hopefully keep an eye on him. Hopefully he can be a guy that maybe can get it together and it seems like he's a reliever. I don't think he starts any games there for Dayton as far as I've seen. But yeah, any thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, you need Maxwell to be better. Those 2 earned runs were both home runs. So you need him to be better. I think me and you both said that we could see him on the roster prior to now, and if you would have asked me, during spring training, who gets called up first, him or Luis May, I would have said him,
Yeah.
I would have said Maxwell for sure.
Yeah.
But obviously he's needed some work and hopefully he can put it together and be a contributor to the bullpen for the stretch, because if we don't trade for guys, you're going to need these prospects to come up and contribute.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, we'd love to see Luis May and him, both of them, come up and be on the Major League Ball Club, because it seems like that could be like the Red solution to the bullpen issues. Instead of maybe going out there and acquiring somebody, they might try to wait and see when Maxwell and May are ready, because it doesn't seem like, as we talked about earlier, that Mole is in the plans, at least as far as we've seen so far. He seems to be kind of on the outside looking in, but maybe that's the direction they go. They go get a lefty, and then they supplement it with May and Maxwell kind of coming up late in the year when maybe the bullpen's even more taxed. Centillion and Barlow are even more taxed at that point. Maybe they come in and relieve those 2 guys in their in their part of the roster. But yeah, I don't know. It keep an eye on them. That's why we're doing this segment. It's been, I think, pretty rewarding to kind of, at least for me, to kind of keep a tab on like guys, because then you don't get in the situation where you're like, well, where did he come from and why is he being called up or whatnot, and you get a little bit also backstory and maybe get to learn their personalities a little bit too at the same time.
Yeah, I like talking minor league baseball. I kind of fell in love with it back, I would say, probably around when Tyler Stevenson got drafted, and then following him and Hunter Green and Lodolo and Austin Hendrick when he got drafted in 2020, and I got excited because he was like the first like bat that I got fired up about. Just the Reds put out this highlight reel of him hitting home runs, and I'm like, this guy's got to swing like Bryce Harper in a way, and it hadn't worked out yet. I'm never going to give up hope on Austin Hendrick until I see the waiver wire of him being released or cut or traded. But yeah, minor league baseball is a lot of fun just because you see that youth, and then you also, what we're used to hearing is we hear the future.
Yeah. And being a smaller market team, it kind of lends that you kind of don't necessarily, I think the negative term is prospect hugger, but you gotta build through your system one way or the other. It's part of the business. It's part of growing a franchise basically, and keeping a successful franchise afloat is to have a successful minor league system. But shout out to Tyler Stevenson. It's actually been 10 years since his draft. It was in June 8th through 10th in 2015. So we're already 10 years past. And do you know
which is why I will not give up on Austin Hendrick.
Right. Do you know the guys that were drafted around or ahead of Mr. Stevenson?
I do not.
All right. Number 1 overall draft pick, Dansby Swanson to the Diamondbacks. Number 2, Alex Bregman. Number 5 in this draft, Kyle Tucker. A lot of Cubs on this. Now Cubs.
Boo.
Yeah. And then number 9, the Cubs drafted Ian Happ. And then just drafted right behind Tyler Stevenson was Josh Naylor, who was drafted
Oh,
by the
man.
Miami Marlins of all teams, to be honest with you. So, but that
Yeah, we needed a catcher. I think we knew that Barnhart's days were coming. We didn't really have anybody in the system either, and it's kind of what I see what they did with Alfredo Duno was they signed him internationally because it's weird, and we'll talk about this on another show maybe later too. Is why we haven't extended Tyler Stevenson and we extended Jose Trevino almost immediately, and it's kind of odd to me, but yeah, we'll save that for another show.
Yeah, that definitely, maybe the off-season show. They've been upping his arbitration, and they're not even like, well, I shouldn't say they go into arbitration. They've been just matching his, agent's offer and whatnot. So they definitely value him, and they did that to a bunch of guys this offseason. Just even like Jake Fraley got his offer matched in the pre-arbitration or the arbitration year stuff. So like they definitely value this core because they didn't have anybody go to actual arbitration to figure out, is this what he's worth and whatnot. They just end up giving him the money that was there. So like, I don't know. I think they're just kind of maybe waiting to see. Catchers are funny, right? Like some of them can be real healthy and some of them could just have injury riddled stuff throughout their whole career. And I don't know if they're not.
One thing
sure.
that worries me about him is that he's already 28 and we're not talking about extensions yet.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I think he's got a couple more years right of control. So they're not probably ready to really throw the bag at him.
I think next year could potentially be his final year.
Possibly. Yeah. I'm trying to look up the Spo track right away. But anyway, as we were getting into that, this week's going to be an interesting week. He's got one more year of arbitration. They avoided it this year, giving him $5 million for 1 year. So, yeah, I don't know. I think they're playing it out and seeing what kind of production he does this year, next year, I think is the thought, if I have to read into the Reds front office. But his unrestricted free agent is right there, right there when the CBA comes up. So there's that.
Oh, no.
he might
be our first salary cap signing.
Yeah. Oh, that could be it. They might be trying to get him cheaper that way is maybe the situation, but
could be.
Anyway, this upcoming week is all on the road, all against pretty decent opponents. The Red Sox, I mean, they've been struggling of late. I mean, if you ask Tommy, they're really bad, but they're still formidable because they're going to be in their ballpark. They're going to sleep in their beds this week. And then you got the Phillies on the weekend who are right there with the Mets. The Mets got swept by the Pirates, by the way. That's interesting, to say the least. So it's the Phillies division right now to lose because I think now they're in control atop of the NL East. But being all on the road, I don't know. It could be a little bit treacherous. It could be that the Reds will play up to their opponents and do well. But I don't know, man. I think a 3-3 week is where I'm looking at. I'm not necessarily too high on taking 2 out of 3 from the Phillies at their place, but I think we could probably win 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox because they've kind of struggled. They're kind of a 500 team. Their offense has been horrid since they traded Rafael Devers, so maybe we could take advantage of that as opposed to maybe being the bounce back team and they find their offense against us. That would be hopefully worst case scenario, but I think that the 3-3 week is fine. Like obviously you were talking about early in the show, it's hard to not be positive and get amped up. Well, this is the crazy part is that the Reds have looked really good, winning the series against the Yankees, winning the series against the Padres, 2 playoff teams basically, but they're still in 4th in the division. The rest of the division has been playing good baseball. Even the Pirates, they swept the Mets. So like, this is the frustrating thing is that the Reds still need to build and stack those wins, stack those series wins. I mean, there's 2 non-divisional opponents. So like that win streak against non-divisional opponents or series wins against non-divisional opponents is up for grabs. Hopefully they can make it 10 straight series against non-NL Central teams. That'd be awesome to see that come to fruition this week, but I'm not necessarily, expecting that. Any thoughts that you got on these two teams?
Yeah, the Red Sox. I mean, they are the Red Sox. They are historically a great team. They're in their rough patch, like all franchises supposedly go through. And when you have your fan base kind of turn against you, like the way they have, with the Mookie Betts trade a few years ago, and now Devers. Kind of different situations. Mookie Betts kind of seemed like out of nowhere, like for the wrong reasons. He's a cornerstone player. Obviously, he's an all-star. It's funny that you see these big market teams like the Red Sox and I don't know, I'll say the Red Sox, kind of being cheap in a way where it's weird. You can understand teams like the Reds or Cleveland or Detroit or St. Louis in a way being cheap, but then you have the Red Sox and the Cubs who just generally don't give out money, which they have pretty significantly rich owners as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I generally have the take that payroll doesn't equal wins, but it also gives you more chances to win because you can have depth behind your stars.
For sure.
And I don't know, I mean, like you just like with Devers, I mean, yeah, he had that horrid start to the season where he go 0 for 17 with like 11 strikeouts or something. And I don't know. It's just they have guys coming up. Roman Anthony, they have some top prospects. And Roman Anthony was like the number 1 overall prospect in all of baseball. Got called up. He's struggling, but as we see with our young guys, you got to struggle to be good. And I don't know, like they made the wrong signings. A lot of fans are turned on Walker Buehler. I kind of wanted him on the Reds, to be honest, when they were talking about him being available. And
sure, why not?
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just like Tommy Bennett tweeted earlier today, 3 for 11 with runners in scoring position.
That's a good day for the Reds. They're usually 1 for 15.
Right.
That's a good day for the Reds.
But I don't know. If I think we need to pounce on Boston while they're down, and we need to play up to Philadelphia.
For sure. And the thing that also I forgot to mention, the matchups look pretty good for the Boston series. Their pitching has been struggling, as you talked about with Walker Buehler. But like we got Burns and Crochet, Singer versus Richard Fitz, and then Nick Martinez coming off his great performance against a young guy, Brian Bello. It's the Phillies series that's real scary because it's Abbott versus Jesus Luzardo, Nick Lodolo versus Ranger Suarez, and then Chase Burns versus Zach Wheeler. Like that's the top of their rotation easily for the Philadelphia Phillies. Like that will be difficult to go into their house and beat up on their top guys. So yeah, you're right. Let's jump on the Red Sox. Hopefully they are not going to be ready to, experience this young up and coming Reds team and then, we'll hopefully get 1 out of 3 against the Phillies. Yeah,
you hope to at least go 3-3 for the series. If you can do that, obviously it's a win. It keeps you afloat. And yeah, you want this team to win, and you want them to win convincingly, but if you can rattle off a series and take 1 of 3 against Philadelphia, you want to see 2 out of 3, but if you can get 1, especially with that rotation, and I don't know if you saw this, Bryce Harper said that he's open to going back into the outfield so the team can get a first baseman. So being flexible to go back out. I know he had that elbow surgery and kind of having trouble throwing the ball, but if he's confident about throwing the ball again and they can go hit a first baseman, I mean, that's going to make them dangerous for the playoff run too.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, the Phillies, they've been pretty deep. They made the playoffs last year, and we'll get a little reunion with Nick Castellanos somewhat, this series as well. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely tough. We definitely want to keep hanging the banner of never been swept. That's the bare minimum.
That's our banner.
We want to keep that going. Put it right next to the Ohio Cup. is what I like to say. So that way we can show off our trophy haul for the 2025 season. But yeah, any other thoughts about the upcoming week?
No, just hoping we can, like you said, at least go 500 for the week.
Yeah. Rick, you got a bunch of stuff coming up this week, right? Are you working every single day or just any day to call you?
As far as I know, just tomorrow.
Just tomorrow? Not Friday?
Friday is the usual.
Okay.
But I got that. I got some behind the scenes stuff coming up that could be pretty exciting as well. And yeah, it's a lot of cool stuff going on. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff. A lot of Reds fun stuff. So it's been a good time.
Yeah, I forgot this Friday is the 4th of July, so you got a lot coming up there.
Yeah, I got a 12 o'clock pregame show for that one.
The show prep, I've heard you've talked to me about it a lot. You got
a couple hours
going on. So,
yeah, shout out Nick Kirby, man, because he generally has a lot of notes put together, and I don't normally copy and paste, but he told me to copy and paste, so I've been copying and pasting. So, but there are some that he doesn't. He didn't have the. I don't think he had the Yankees series, so I had to do a lot of research on that one. So that was a lot. It's a lot of fun. I'm learning websites and stuff to go to find stats, and so it's cool.
Nice. All right, then tomorrow your pregame, and then also our live stream.
Live on here.
Please come out and support us. We'll have Sir Boy Wonder come out and talk about it. The our number one season ticket holder in our community here, in our Red Hot Reds community. Really appreciate all the guys that came out today and were in the chat. It was so much chat that I got kind of lost at where it was.
I know I had that comment. I was like, oh man, where did it go? Like, I'm not.
Yeah, it doesn't happen to us a lot, but it maybe this is good things. Let's ride this Reds wave. Let's get out there, support the Reds, and
the future.
Exactly. Yeah, let's go out there. Let's make the playoffs, man. Let's just ride this all the way to the postseason. Is all at least that's my hope. I mean, I don't know. I was kind of, I don't know. You saw that, put that article. I was putting that article together before the Reds lost on Saturday. And I was like, crap, this article is going to look real bad if they lose Saturday and then lose Sunday, or they lose the series and they're just like, they're not back.
You got to delete now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm just going to do it. Whatever. I'm going to put it before the Sunday game. And then luckily we pulled that one out of our tuchus. So we're at least on the right side of that one. Thank you, Will Benson, for saving me on that one.
Thank you, Will Benson.
Yeah,
2023 hero Will Benson.
Yeah. Anything else you got before we go?
Just go Reds, man. It's a lot of fun stuff going on.
Yep, go Reds.
We're the Reds. Red hot.